New to this sub update to husband wants to divorce and start over, says he can't bond with daughter. Throwaway because I want to fix this and I'm paranoid about more people in our lives finding out. It's all so fucked up already. I don't want more stress. My husband, 29M, and I, 30NB, have been married for 5 years. I gave birth to our first child in September, a girl. My husband was present for most of my labor but things went very pear-shaped and I had to have an emergency C-section. The doctors told him to leave the room and wait outside. In short, he did not see our daughter be born. A week ago he informed me that he wants to divorce and start over on his dreams of having a family. He insists that he cannot bond with our daughter and says it's because he didn't see her being born. He said a lot about how it's always been a dream of his to have a small, close-knit family, and now he can't have that with me because of the C-section and his not being in the room. His dad suggested therapy but husband refused, saying he knew it wouldn't work. I've made sure he knows I'm open to the idea if he changes his mind, but he's been very insistent that he knows this can't be fixed. Part of me knows I'm basically asking for a magic spell here, but does anyone have any ideas how/if this can be fixed? I'll try to answer any questions anyone may have. Sorry if the flare isn't correct, I just guessed. Update 1. I wanted to update and thank everyone who sympathized with me and tried to help. There isn't much new but some things have happened. I can't link my first post here according to the rules, but these 2 posts are the only ones this throwaway has, so it should be easy to find. TLDR, I, 30NB, gave birth in September. Things went badly, I needed a C-section, husband, 29M, did not see daughter be born. Husband insists that he can't bond with daughter and wants a divorce so he can start over on his dream of having a close-knit family. Several people suggested asking him to come with me to a therapist so I can get help understanding why he's leaving. He agreed and our appointment was yesterday. It didn't go badly. But it didn't go well either. He was very upfront with the therapist. He didn't try to mince words or refuse to answer questions. He told the man, paraphrasing, they got to bond the entire pregnancy. That baby is made of their body. I can't compare to that. My work started at birth and I wasn't there, so I don't feel like I ever got hired, if that makes sense. Yeah, he compared it to not having an employment contract. I get the metaphor, I guess, but I'm not sure how it translates to him not being able to bond. Several people made transphobic comments and several other people asked if maybe my lack of gender was an issue. I assumed no because husband had known that I'm non-binary since before we started dating, but I did bring it up while we were with the therapist. Husband insists that no, it has nothing to do with anything. He didn't care about what I am but how I did. The therapist was very focused on trying to help me understand and I appreciate that. No complaints with him. I'm still completely in the dark, though, and husband has started talking about choosing a lawyer. He says he wants a clean break before daughter gets too attached. TLDR2, situation is still fucked. I'm leaning towards letting him just go and focusing on me plus daughter. Update 2. This is probably going to be long and it isn't a happy update. My other posts can be seen in my post history, but the short of it is that I, 30NB, gave birth to my daughter in September. My STBX husband, 29M, did not see her birth, things went very badly and I needed emergency intervention. He was not in the room for the C-section. About a month and a half ago he informed me that he cannot bond with her because he did not see her be born and he wants to divorce so he can start over on his dreams of a close-knit family. We have filed. I have taken daughter and moved back in with my parents, who aren't very happy about the divorce but are thrilled to have the chance to nanny daughter, their words, not mine. Life was in stasis for about a week after my last post until FIL asked us to come over for dinner. He informed me that STBX had asked for his help paying for a lawyer. He had agreed with the requirement that we all sit down and have one last talk about the situation. He opened with saying that he thinks that getting this over with would be best for me and daughter. STBX looked a little hurt at this, so he's willing to help, but he wanted to take one last shot at fixing it. The one last shot ended up being several hours of talking. FIL bluntly demanded that STBX explain his reasoning. STBX repeated the can't bond thing. FIL asked why. The employment contract analogy was brought up again. After much back, forth, what do you mean by this, why that? FIL just said, I'm not buying this. What's the real reason, STBX? STBX insisted till the end that what he'd been saying all along was his reasoning. He did not see daughter be born, so he can't bond. He tried, he insisted. The connection isn't there. He was supposed to connect when daughter was born, there was supposed to be a spark of connection between them, but that spark can only happen right at birth, I guess. In his mind he can't get it now. Phil asked if STBX thought daughter wasn't his. STBX insists he has no doubts he is daughter's biological father. Phil asked if STBX was seeing someone else. Was there a woman or another pregnancy somewhere? STBX did not react well to this. He threw his phone down on the table and said that we were free to search it, he's not a scumbag. After that the conversation turned to post-divorce life. STBX offered up that he'd been running the numbers and would volunteer 50-month alimony and 50-month in child support. He doesn't have to do either, mind, because we're divorcing and he wants to cut all ties with the kid, but he wants to be fair. $50 in alimony? Whatever, I have a job and a roof over our heads. I don't need it. $50 in child support? That is a lot less whatever. But I'm refusing to stress about it. The court will handle CS amounts. I'm making myself not be angry and let them deal with it. I admit I tuned out most of the rest of Phil's attempt to talk sense into his son after that comment. I think that was when the coffin finally nailed itself shut. I started packing when we got home and went to my parents' house the next day. I'm no longer talking to STBX, his lawyer talks to mine. We haven't spoken in almost 3 weeks. I don't think I need to tell you that he hasn't shown any concern for daughter, but here I am anyway. The day after I got there my sister kidnapped me to her place. We got very drunk, daughter was with parents, not us, talked about everything and I screamed a lot. I got most of it out of my system. After that we had more drinks and watched terrible horror movies. I woke up the next day with the headache from hell but otherwise feeling better than I had in a long time. My job can't transfer me, just my luck, but I've been promised a glowing reference and I'm cashing out what little paid leave I have left to add to my savings. Phil asked after the failed conversation if I would be cutting him off. I assured him that he might not see us as much because of how far away my parents live and not knowing where I'll end up, but he's not getting rid of me or daughter that easily. He was very happy to hear that. So that's where I am. Papers have been filed, daughter and I have moved out of the house, I'm doing my best to ignore STBX's existence. Thank you all again for listening to me cry and complain over the past couple months. Update 3. I promised an update once things were over, and at this point they're mostly over, so here I am. My story can be seen in my post history, but the short of it is that my 31NB ex-husband, 29M, did not see my daughter's birth and decided that because he wasn't there he couldn't bond, so he and I are divorcing and he's going to start over. Daughter turned 1 this month. She landed on nod as her first word. I suspect this is because Phil brought home a foster-to-adopt dog a few months back whose previous owners called her Nod or Nodder. Daughter loves the heck out of this dog, you guys. Phil sends me pictures of her every day to show to daughter. Ex-husband and I are just waiting on some final paperwork for the divorce to be complete. He has not contested anything. He did look the judge in the face and repeat the whole "didn't see birth, can't bond" thing. His lawyer did try and defend that claim. He presented studies that he claimed said things about damages to bonds when fathers weren't present and actively involved for everything but ex-husband was. He was there and active and involved my entire pregnancy, and was present for my entire labor until things went wrong. It wasn't a case of, oh hey you knocked someone up 5 years ago, now bond with this kid. Daughter was definitely less than an hour old when he held her for the first time, probably less than half an hour. And I had proof for this claim too, among other things I had pictures of the two of us at multiple prenatal appointments. Phil was also willing to file a statement talking about how X and he were involved in my pregnancy. Needless to say, the judge was not impressed with my ex's lawyer's arguments. He tried to push my ex for therapy, made comments about how X would regret this later. X stood stubborn with his "I need to start over" line. He has visitation per the paperwork. Care to guess if he's used it? He does also have to pay child support. If you've read my post history you might remember that he offered me a gigantic $50 a month. That's all he's been paying despite the judge ordering a lot more, so that's a fight I'm going to have to steel myself for. I'm surprised he started scanting out before the divorce was even final, but he did tell me and Phil that he's not a scumbag, so in his mind he's probably just keeping true to his word or something. He's shown no interest in daughter. No other children, pregnancies or potential partners have popped up either. As best FIL can tell, X is single and not showing any interest in dating yet. I don't know how I feel, really. It would make more sense if he was cheating. It would be easier to have something solid to point to, go fuck you into a tornado for making my life fall apart and then try to move on. But all lived evidence points to him honestly thinking he has to do this. I'm in therapy. I found a place about middle of my parents and FIL, and I'm still doing freelance work. I would rate myself okay. Daughter is happy, healthy, and kicking off. She will be fine. I plan to never speak to X again once this paperwork is done. I just have to wait to be able to totally start over myself. Stories number 2. Aita for not kicking out my roommate just because my girlfriend thinks he might be trans. I, 22M, have a roommate, let's call him Alex M23, who moved in about 6 months ago. I honestly never considered Alex may be trans, not that I would care if he was, but that's not the issue. He is a short guy and probably under 165 cm/5'5", has a lot facial hair, muscles, and looks a lot like a short Henry Cavill emo. No one I know has ever brought up this idea before. I've had my friends and family at our apartment before. This is really the part that gets to me because my mom is extremely against any gay people, and if she sensed anything was up she would have caused problems right away. Alex and I get along, we're polite but not really friends, he's quiet but super polite, always pays rent on time, helps with chores, and even shares his cooking with me. I appreciate having him around, especially because my last 3 roommates were each their own horror story. The issue came up when my girlfriend, let's call her Sarah F28, came over one day. Alex was shirtless. To clarify, I forgot to tell Alex that she was coming over, and she noticed the scars on his chest. After that she was quiet and short with me her entire stay there. When she got home, she blew up my phone, asking why I had a female living with me. I was confused and asked what she was on about. She says that she knows that his scars are from top surgery, and that he is short, so he has to be trans, and a born female. I tried to explain that even if Alex is trans or a born female, that there is no way I'd be attracted to him because to any person who looked at him, you would see a freaking guy. Plus he's respectful and doesn't cause drama like my last roommates, which she knows about. Just to be clear. I honestly still have no idea if Alex is even trans. I googled it, and those scars could be from some other surgery. Like heart surgery or gynecomastia. And I really don't have an argument for him being short, but there is a lot of short men. At first Sarah wanted me to just ask Alex if he was trans, which why the fuck would I do that, or give her his last name so she can run a background check. I said no to both. Then she said this was a violation of trust and that if I didn't either find out that Alex is trans, and kick him out, or just kick him out that she would have to reevaluate things. Basically threatening to break up. I said I don't do ultimatums and that we're done. Since then, she's been messaging me every single day for over 2 weeks, even after I blocked her on everything because she wouldn't leave me alone, pissed that I wouldn't do this small thing for her. She ranges from, are you fucking him, let's just talk, why can't you at least give me closure and ask him? To the most recent her telling our mutual friend about the situation. Our friend wants nothing a part of this shit show. I didn't feel bad at first, but after talking about it online, I've had some people say I should have just asked my roommate if he was indeed trans just to keep the peace, or that I shouldn't have essentially picked my roommate who I've only had for about 6 months over my girlfriend of 5 years. I wonder if I am being unreasonable. I legitimately do not see how any straight dude could find Alex attractive, personally, but maybe I should have done something just to keep the peace. TLDR, my now ex-girlfriend thinks that my roommate is trans, told me to find out for sure or kick him out. I refused and broke up with her. Aita. Edit, same day, same post. Edit, to answer some questions. Did you break up with her? Yes. During the text conversation we broke up. I always told her I had one rule, that I don't do ultimatums. If she were to say, choose X for me, that I would leave. I put up with a lot of shit verbal and physical, but I don't put up with that kind of BS. Ages? I was 17 and she was 22/23 when we got together. It's been a long time so I'd have to look back to make sure. But yeah, I was for sure 17. We got together the day I turned 17, our anniversary is my birthday. We couldn't get together before then because of the age of consent in my state, which I get now is really fucked up. I get that sounds bad. I really do. But at the time I didn't see it as bad. Just in case it is asked, our moms encouraged it. Why would you want to be with someone like that? I really don't. I didn't realize it was transphobia until some people here talked to me about it. I thought it was just her being jealous. But I get how fucked up it is now. Please understand I live in the Bible Belt, I didn't even know trans people existed until I was 16. My personal thoughts is that I don't see a problem with people being trans and transitioning, I think at the end of the day it isn't my business. Is Alex trans? I have no clue. He could be, but he could have also had breast cancer, gyno, heart, lung, or any kind of other surgery. I used a photo from Google/Reddit because this whole time I personally thought he had gyno or something. But it's not my business. Is Alex safe? I'll talk to him when I get home and then talk to my landlord. I will change my gate code and also have her removed from the allowed guests list and also ask my landlord to not let her in personally. She hasn't been too violent of a person in the past, but I also didn't know she was this insane in the past either. Was there abuse? I feel like this has been kinda implied in some questions. I don't know. Has she insulted me? Yes. Has she been physical? Yes. But nothing crazy. Slapping, pushing, shoving, but never anything like punching or drawing blood. Why use CM if you're American? I was born and raised American. However, I got a couple of friends who use metric from college, and after sharing a group chat with them for so long, the habit has stuck. If anyone cares, we're in automotive engineering. The photo? The photo is not actually Alex. I searched Google for gyno surgery photos and then found a Reddit post talking about it. I used it as a reference for what I mean. Scarring under the chest and around the nipple area. Why didn't you ask Alex about his scars? I have a few reasons. I personally wouldn't like it if someone asked me. Second, my mom has scars all around her body for different reasons and gets livid if you ask her about them. Third, probably the one that confuses people the most, I didn't really care enough to ask. I was curious but not I just thought, and then went on with my business. Update. I talked to Alex. I got advice saying to be upfront and tell him what's up completely, hide the trans part, and that I just shouldn't tell him. I don't know if this was the right thing but I just told him, because once I was face to face with him I couldn't really help but do it. To clarify, I did not ask him about his scars or mention that specifically. I said my ex-girlfriend was under the impression he was a trans person, made sure to say I didn't care if he was or wasn't, and that I broke things off, changed the gate codes, put her on the do not let in list, all that drama. Before even saying anything, he asked if I was okay, like I said he is a chill dude. He also not so subtly asked the same questions that a lot of comments asked, essentially if I was in an abusive situation. I told him I don't know but whatever kind of situation it was, it's over. The thing that really kind of fucked with me is that he called me his best friend. I regret not saying we were close in other comments. I realize now we have different definitions of close because he is introverted and I'm not. We talked about irrelevant stuff for a while and then the question came up, would you care if I was trans? To summarize things, yes, Alex is trans mask. He had top surgery when he was 19 and has been on hormones since he was 18, he even has a tattoo with the date he started testosterone. While the idea that he could have been a dude with gyno, cancer, or something else is completely reasonable, it just happens that Alex is trans. And I don't care about that, Alex is Alex. I did show him the post and got permission to update things. I would not have otherwise. He is also roaming this post somewhere, but probably won't comment. Notes. Alex is going to help me out with finding some low-cost or pay-scale therapy because he personally hasn't heard good things about the college's therapy services. Like everyone else has said, yes. It was abuse. I see that. I will also hold higher standards for myself in the future. Alex sent me the information for the therapist he sees and I'll contact them in the morning. The landlord knows there is a domestic incident and I trust him when it comes to making sure my ex doesn't show up. The do not allow list was made in mind for this reason. I am not ready to talk to my mom about this. But I hope with some therapy and time I will be. She knows something is going on, but she believes this is a break and not a breakup. Sorry if this sounds like rambling, it is. This has been a rough couple of weeks, my brain is fried and I'm tired. Keep in mind, I'm still a full-time student during this. I also have to keep my grades up for my grants, scholarships, government aid, etc. I do read all comments, even the not so good ones. I will try to respond more before I sleep tonight, but just know even if I don't reply, I have read it. I appreciate all the advice, kicks in the rear, and the sympathy. A side note, I have seen a lot of trans people comment on this post and I have had a few reach out to me in private. I am thankful for your comments as well. It has brought to my attention how tough things are out there because I honestly felt what I did was the bare minimum and not worthy of praise because it should just be expected. But I see that it is being praised for how low of a bar there is when it comes to human decency towards you, and I'm sorry for that and hope things get better. TLDR, girlfriend of 5 years wanted me to kick out my chill roommate of 6 months because he is trans, which apparently means I'll sleep with him. Broke up with her, kept the roommate. Official update. I talked to the therapist Alex recommended. Normally I would be on the wait list until January, but due to the situation the therapist referred me to one of his associates and I'll be seen as early as next week. I also was recommended to attend a domestic violence support group that gathers once a month. I was originally not going to go because the idea was uncomfortable as fuck, but Alex said he'll go with me so at least I'll know someone there and we can leave if it's too weird for me. My mom is aware of the breakup, she is not too happy. I did not mention the trans part. I said that Sarah was being controlling and I didn't want to put up with it anymore. Got the usual, that's a normal part of any relationship, comments, but I stood my ground. My mom seems to be under the same delusion as Sarah that this is a small argument or something and we will get back together. But that is absolutely no happening. I don't really talk to Sarah's mom, so I don't know her thoughts on the matter. The landlord is aware of the situation and will not let Sarah in, should she try to show up. If you don't have the gate code, you have to go to the main office and the employee, landlord's son, will buzz the person in if they are on your accepted people list or call the tenant and ask if they aren't on the list. If the individual is on the do not let in list, especially if it involves a criminal matter, they will be asked to leave. If they don't leave, then it becomes trespassing. I know this sounds like a lot, but the security is why a lot of people live here. Notes after reading some comments. I am sorry for trivializing my abuse. It still feels weird to say abuse, but I do know that it is abuse. Slapping, pushing, and shoving is physical abuse, and if another person came up and told me their partner was doing that, I would call it abuse. It's not that I don't think women can be abusive, but as I said in one of the comments, I don't view it as abuse when it's towards me. This is probably due to being abused by my mom, which I am going to get help for. For reference, when I mention my mom's abuse, it's why I'm low contact with her. The reason why I was extremely underweight as a kid is because she just straight up didn't feed me a lot of the time. CPS got called a lot but never did anything. They also didn't take any claims by my teachers that I was being abused as creditable because there were no marks or bruises, which has warped my view on abuse. Going forward, if I date again, then I won't put up with any physical or verbal abuse. A couple of comments helped by saying that if I was confused on if it was wrong, to think about if it was another person going through it. Which has been helpful in what I feel is right and wrong treatment towards me. After a lot of talking, it turns out Alex and I have been friends this whole time, but because I've never had an introvert friend before, I didn't exactly realize. Alex says he didn't want to annoy me by trying to chat with me all the time, which ironically is what I was feeling. Now we're going to hang out more and he is trying to get me to join the D&D game he is in. Thank you for reading my giant block of text. I'm on the app and I don't exactly know how to format. I'm grateful for all the comments, regardless if they are good or bad. I do read all of them. Update. Hey everyone, I'm really sorry it's taken so long to update. I've been focusing on my mental health and keeping up with school, but overall, I'm doing better than I ever have. I've been going to therapy every week, it'll be every other week starting in January, attending a domestic violence support group every other week, playing D&D weekly, and I've made several new friends through the support group and D&D. Honestly, if it weren't for Alex, I'm not sure I'd have made it this far. He's driven me to therapy, gone to the support group with me even though he didn't need to, got me into D&D, and introduced me to his friends, who are now also my friends. As for Sarah, who I regret giving that fake name because one of my new friends has the same name, she's in jail. After my initial post, Sarah tried to show up at my apartment, but because she was on the do not let in list, she wasn't allowed in. Instead, she waited for another resident to open the gate, ducked behind their car, and tried to sneak in. She was caught immediately, and the landlord called the police to issue her a formal trespass notice. After that, I began the process of getting a PPO. Personal Protective Order. A week later, Sarah was arrested on charges unrelated to my apartment. She was arrested for trespassing, after warning, resisting without violence, and disorderly conduct. She's currently in jail, awaiting her court date. It's likely not going to go well for her since she was already on probation for a second DWI, and one of the conditions of her probation was to not break the law. How do I know all this? A mutual friend posted it on his Snap story. More good news, my PPO was approved on Monday. It took too long in my opinion, but whatever, it's finally done. Now, for some difficult news, I'm officially no contact with my mom. I know, logically, this is the right decision because she's not a healthy person, but it still hurts. After talking with my therapist and in support group, I realized that my views on healthy relationships and abuse were really warped, especially by my mom. I know some might say it's important to forgive her or at least give her a chance to change, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to forgive her. She neglected me as a child, physically and verbally abused me into adulthood, and even encouraged me to date an adult when I was a minor. After reflecting on everything, I also can't bring myself to say I love her. I realize I only felt that way out of obligation and pity. My mom was taken advantage of when she was a minor, which led to her pregnancy with me, and I do feel bad for her. But instead of seeking help, she chose not to. Now, I'm using her as a reverse moral compass. Whatever she did, I now try to do the opposite. This Christmas, I'm spending time with Alex and his family, which I guess is now also my family. I'm really thankful for the continued support from all of you, and I'll try to provide more updates moving forward. Stories number 3. I have 2 weeks to get away from my husband. Throwaway account as my husband and in-laws are follow my main. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, 30M, who I'll call Alex. Alex and I met in college during our freshman year. We started off as just friends, and got married 7 months ago. I've gotten along with his family, but we aren't super close, but we're friendly enough. The problem is that Alex has begun to make me incredibly uncomfortable. Firstly, he's begun to ask me who I'm meeting with, where, what we plan on doing, how long every single time I leave the house without him. At first, I just thought he was being protective and a good partner just in case something happened, but then he started checking my phone after the visits, vetting and researching each of my friends as well. He also has been pursuing me to link my bank account to his, as he's in charge of the finances when he was perfectly fine with keeping them separate before. We fight about it almost every day. Finally, yesterday when he was preparing to go on a work trip for 2 weeks in California, he demanded I wear a tracker so he could keep an eye on me while he's gone. I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm suffocating his family who I've spoken to about his worrying behavior just said he's being careful and protective as a good husband should. I need to gather my things together and find a way to be gone before he gets home without tipping him off. He's always threatened that if he ever found me cheating on him he'd turn in divorce papers the same day. He keeps a filled-out copy in his desk. I'm going to submit those the day I leave. But there's so much to do, Bergen finding a new place to live, seeing if my job has any transfers available, packing and moving in 2 weeks. His return flight May 11th, so I need to move quickly. I'm posting here because I don't have any close family, and I can't risk dragging my friends into this as we share the same friends. I just needed a place to vent, and ask if anyone has any advice on the easiest and safest way to do this. Edit, oh my god you guys are amazing. I never even thought to not use his divorce papers. I'll check for cameras before I start any packing or prepping. I may also shred his divorce papers just in case and look into getting a lawyer for myself. I'm in a no-fault divorce state, that much I so remember, which will help. I'll update again when I know more. The tracker he wants me to use is a small clip to put on the belt or waistband. I'll wear it unless I'm going or doing something related to me leaving. No pets yet thankfully. Update. So I've gotten a lot of support and helpful advice along with questions I thought I should clarify before I proceed with the update. Some asked why I'd be hiding things from Alex regarding going out and who I'm meeting with. I don't, and I have nothing to hide. However, when he begins to then double-check everything I tell him with the other people there right down to each person I talked to and what I said. Did I send any text MSGs, did I order food, how much did I eat, that's when it started to feel like I was slowly being pushed into a corner. It didn't start that bad, but gradually grew worse over time. All of the Reddit subs my in-laws' families are part of our related gardening day, so I highly doubt they'll see this. If so, by the time they do, I'll hopefully be gone. I talked to my job and explained things to my manager. And they promised to look into openings in other states to see if they could get me into one. They'll have an update on that in 3 days. I trust that my bank account is secured, considering he's tried to get into it before and failed. I found one camera in the kitchen, another in the living room and one in our bedroom. As such, I've left them in place for now and done all other planning, either in the bathroom pretending I'm taking a bath. I'm honestly staying away from the domestic violence services as my sister-in-law is unfortunately higher up in those considering she volunteers there, and I have a feeling if I did show up there, they would know in a heartbeat. I can't look for apartments until I get the update from my work, but either or I'm still gonna be leaving the state. The day before I do I will be changing my number carrier and wiping my laptop and all of his electronics before I do. I've met with 2 lawyers so far and had them look over the paperwork. My husband had prepared and both said that it didn't have some clauses in it. That could have caused me some trouble down the line. What alarmed all of us close the fact that several of those clauses dealt with future children, and not as a hypothetical. Like several hairs suggested, I have a feeling he fully intended on getting me pregnant to keep me trapped and tied to him. There are 3 other locations my job could send me to, and I have, as a precaution, begun looking into all 3 cities and housing in the areas. Just in case one of those, this is the one they send me to. Even if they don't have an opening that they can push me into, then I will just have to quit, move and figure things out on my own. I have enough money to live and survive for a few months until I can pick up another job. Unfortunately, all of our friends are mutuals and would likely be unaware of the consequences of saying or sharing anything I do or say with my husband. I don't have any surviving close family, and obviously my in-laws are not a good resource to rely on. I am on my own, unfortunately, other than the wonderful bonds I've begun to make here. I will update again if I get more information or something else happens. Otherwise, I'll update when my work gets back to me. I do plan on leaving before he returns, though. Just to make sure that I'm not anywhere near here at that time. Update 2. Good news. My work has an opening I qualify for that will not only shift me across the country, but also comes with a salary increase as well. I've started telling my in-laws and friends that I'm planning a surprise outing for when my husband gets back for just the 2 of us. This way, people don't give me odd looks if they see me out and about. I've even gone as far as asking mother-in-law to show me his favorite recipes. Meanwhile, I've found a moving company that, while small, is willing to work in a storm. The reason is in 5 days, we're supposed to get hit with a large storm front. I plan to shut off the breaker and say we lost power if he asks, just as several people here suggested, and even send him a short clip of the storm. I will have all of my stuff moved that afternoon, and I will be flying out once the weather has cleared enough to do so. I have a lawyer who will push my divorce through, and I've filled out the necessary paperwork so that I don't have to be here for it. I'm not suing for assets or alimony, and I've shredded his divorce papers as well. I've set up a cheap payphone plan through Cricket until this is all said and done, at which point I will find a new carrier, number and phone. This one is being wiped and left behind. My laptop is provided by my work, and the IT department inspected it thoroughly and it was clean, thankfully. No other electronic aside from my laptop and new phone will be coming with me. If Alex needs to talk to me, he can do it through my lawyer. Not sure if anything else will happen, my fingers are crossed that he doesn't think anything's amiss until after I leave, and I'm not turning the breaker back on when I do. He can when he gets home. My work is covering the plane ticket, so that at least is one expense I don't have to finagle in. Update 3. It's been a busy week, but I've gotten so much done. Firstly, I am now out of the house and am currently in a hotel while I look for an apartment. It's a big city, bustling with people no matter where you look. We had a pretty bad storm system hit back home, that actually lasted 2 days. High winds, thunder, lightning and even hail everywhere. I didn't take much from the house, my documents, clothes and important sentimental items. I left all of the furniture and electronics behind. I cleaned the house top to bottom and took pictures on my phone so he couldn't claim I damaged anything when I left. My lawyer has already started divorce proceedings, and my husband will be served on the 8th. His plane is due to land early morning, and the sheriff will be there at the house waiting for him. He is very much about public appearances and reputation. My lawyer will be calling him as well to inform him that I am more than willing to air out everything to the public about his actions if it means securing my freedom from him. I will go to court as long as I must to get this pushed through. I haven't told our friends or his in-laws yet. I will do that while he is on the flight to prevent him from getting wind of it before he's handed the divorce papers. I will be calling around and explaining why we're getting divorced, to try and prevent him from twisting this into somehow being my fault. I don't want him trying to claim I had an affair or something, so I want to get the truth out before he can twist this. I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but yet I feel almost jittery and off-kilter. I keep looking over my shoulder and monitoring what I say even when I don't really need to anymore. Hopefully that will fade soon. My work is covering the cost of the hotel, and I'm working on getting my other things in order. I also need to find a new GP as I want to get a full test just to make sure everything is okay. I don't know when my next update will be, probably when the divorce papers are filed or if we have to go to court to push them through. I will try to keep my head up, but it feels like I'm in a whirlwind or something with so many things to do and think about. I kinda thought it would be easier once I got out of the house, but while the fear is smaller, somehow the number of tasks only seems to have grown. Update 4. Sorry, I haven't updated for a while, things got hectic and a bit chaotic honestly. Firstly, I'm working on getting an apartment still and have applications in at 3 different places and will hopefully hear back from them soon. I'm still going into work here at the new location, so I don't have to worry about burning through my emergency savings completely. I've gotten a lot of emails from Alex, his family and our old friend group asking question after question. I have only sent one return email to Alex, explaining that I don't believe we are truly compatible, and it is best we separate now. That his treatment of me when I'd done nothing to deserve as such was just as much of a deal breaker as cheating was for him. I ended the email with the statement that I would not be contacting him further and anything else he needed to pass on to me or vice versa would be done through my lawyer. For his family and friends, I just typed up one email outlining everything that had happened and why I left. I told them I wished them no ill will, but that such treatment of his wife and partner was not acceptable. That should Alex get remarried in the future, I wished they would help support both partners and not just Alex. Alex, from what my lawyer told me, was livid when he was served. The sheriff actually ended up booking him for assault on an officer and menacing due to the threats he was shouting. His father bailed him out in a few hours, but with the testimony of the sheriff, my lawyer believes I have a very good chance at getting a restraining order. Alex, upon returning to the house, apparently lost his temper again, breaking the dining table into pieces as well as the TV, and putting several holes in the walls. At least that's what one of the emails from one of our friends reported as Alex called him to help him clean up the mess. My lawyer already has pictures of the house I took, with timestamps as evidence nothing had been damaged by me. My friend reported that Alex tried to claim I'd been the one to trash the house, but the holes in the wall were at head height. Alex is 6 feet 3 inches, and I'm 5 feet 4 inches, so he knew that was false. Either way, taking the pictures definitely will help me, so again thank you everyone here for the advice because I never would have thought of that on my own. My work won't share details of where I am, as I do work with some higher-end clientele who value security, and that information won't be gossiped about, and no, I'm not some stripper or escort. I deal with contracts, notary and business management. As such, even if Alex tried to use my work to find me, he wouldn't succeed. Update on leaving. It's been a little bit, and I thought I'd answer some questions before giving my update. It may be a while after this until things change. Firstly, no, I didn't bring my car. The public transport here is good enough to use without needing one. I have secured an apartment, and the building has good security. You need a key card to enter, and there is a security guard at a desk right by the entrance to the building. As part of my contract, I gave them a photo of Alex and his family so that even in the off chance they do find me, they won't be let in. The responses I got from the emails varied. His family said I was overreacting, and that I owe Alex an apology for the problems this has caused him. The pending criminal charges puts him at risk of losing his job if he's convicted. Alex sent a long email, apologizing and pleading for me to come home. He said he was worried for me, that he is willing to go to therapy if it will appease me. He wants us to remain together, and he didn't think leaving was an appropriate response to his genuine concern and worry for my health and safety. The friends gave somewhat lacking replies, saying that they didn't think Alex was ever going to hurt me and that I shouldn't be letting my imagination run away wild. As much as I want to say I was surprised by the lack of support, I'm honestly not. He intends to fight the divorce. I am letting my lawyer handle it, and I am also pursuing a protective order as well. Once I got approved for my apartment, I also froze my credit. I've changed my phone carrier and number, as well as making sure none of my documents list Alex as next of kin or POA. Some have asked why I was so paranoid about Alex and his possible future actions. The answer for that actually is somewhat simple: my grandmother. I loved that woman to bits. As a teen, she explained why my grandfather was never around. He was extremely abusive and manipulative, and her generation didn't allow divorce really. She wouldn't have been able to buy a house or get a good enough job to support her and my mother on her own. As such, she endured it, shielded my mom as she could until my grandfather died. When I felt like I may have been overreacting, I remembered how she'd said she'd always wished she'd been able to see grandfather for what he was early on when she may have been able to annul the marriage. I don't know when I'll update again, maybe when the divorce goes through or if something big happens, but until then, I'm just trying to keep my head above the water. Another update. It's been a month since my previous update, and I wanted to share some of what's been going on in the meantime. The divorce is proceeding, but even though I don't need him to agree, and he's not, it means I have to go through the courts to get it approved. As such, it could be upwards of 6 months to push it through even though I'm filing without attempting to claim property, alimony, or compensation. I just want a clean break and separation. Alex has attempted to use our friends to reach out to me, as he doesn't want to use my lawyer for communication. He's saying it's disrespectful and cowardly to hide behind my lawyer and not meet him face to face. Alex wrote me a letter that he did pass off to my lawyer, but the contents were him justifying his actions and claiming that in today's time it is dangerous for women to be on their own, which is why he was so intent on trying to keep me safe from harm. He wanted me to understand that he was trying to protect me as best he could and was hurt that I would just lie to him and hide my actions from him related to my dissatisfaction with our marriage and my moving. I didn't reply, because at no point did he apologize. All he did was turn everything around on me as I was being overly dramatic, emotional, and cowardly. There was a second letter with Alex's from my SIL. Her letter was honestly disturbing and completely justified my misgivings regarding approaching her in any kind of professional capacity. She spent 5 paragraphs detailing how a real abusive relationship looked like and that Alex was the furthest thing from abusive. The details she included were all related to financial abuse and physical abuse. Nothing like what Alex had been doing. She stated that my attempts to smear her brother's name for attention and clout made me the abuser, not him. I haven't really been able to process that, admittedly. Part of me can't help but wonder if she's right. I mean, I blindsided him by leaving as I did and am refusing to speak with him at all. My old boss recommended that I look into getting into therapy after I moved, and I think I need to. I have had a hard time adjusting to being on my own. I keep censoring myself and haven't even gone out to eat yet. I always end up worrying about what if someone sees me, what if I get in trouble for spending my money on something frivolous. My lawyer is continuing to fight for the divorce, and I shouldn't need to be physically present in court. Any meetings needed between me and the judge can be done via Zoom. I'm trying to avoid confrontation with Alex and his family for now as much as I can and passed both letters to my lawyer in case he needs them. Our friends are mostly trying to avoid taking sides still, and I'm honestly approaching the point of just letting them go as well. I'm tired of fighting for them to understand at this point. I don't know if anything is going to happen, so my next update may not be until around mid-November depending on how long it takes to push the divorce through. Work is going well, and it's helpful to have something familiar to anchor my day-to-day life when so much has changed and is changing even now. Divorce proceeding update. It's been a while since I last updated, as I needed to let the court step in as Alex was not willing to grant my request for a divorce. We started with mediated session via Zoom, but after 4 sessions it was decided that no compromise could be reached between us. The things Alex was pushing for were ones I'm not even willing to humor, let alone agree to. He wanted me to tell our friends and those I'd sent the information to about his actions that I'd made it up in order to gain sympathy. He also wanted me to pay him for defamation and suffering, especially the wages he lost because of sitting in jail for 2 days and missing work before getting bailed out. Lastly, he also wanted me to return and to quote him, "stop my foolish behavior and act like a proper wife and partner." Yeah, no. So, needless to say, our mediated sessions went absolutely nowhere. The judge isn't seeming to buy into Alex's act, thankfully, because he's certainly tried. It took me far too long to see Alex for who he was, and part of me feels like an idiot because I didn't see it at all. Yet, the judge seemed to clock him for exactly what he is within the first meeting. Maybe I just didn't want to see it. I don't know. Alex ended up arguing with the judge a lot, even being held in contempt 4 different times. I think it's honestly why this moved as quick as it did. It didn't help that Alex tried to pull in his family as character witnesses, but they were dismissed by the judge as the abuse wasn't seen or heard by them, and as such, they only knew part of Alex's character. In his closing statement after he approved the divorce, He went on to call Alex a narcissist and that if Alex loved himself so much to abuse the one he'd married to let the divorce happen and marry a mirror next. I didn't think a judge was allowed to say that. At all. But my lawyer just shook his head and told me not to say anything, so we left. So here's the update I'm sure everyone's been hoping for and guessed: I'm officially divorced. The documents were processed 3 days ago, and I'm still in disbelief. I have no contact with Alex any longer, nor do I want any. I'm not going to give our friends my new contact information. I may not have replied to everyone, though I tried, but I did read all of your comments. I really did. Your repeated statements about how they weren't actually friends really helped me see that they weren't. So, I decided that since I moved far from that place, I needed to start over. New home, new place, new friends. It's slow, and I've started therapy, though it took almost 3 months to get it due to the usual wait times, but I've been going 3 times a week ever since. It's helping, even with things I thought were done and dusted. Alex didn't take the divorce well according to my lawyer, who's been keeping up with him to make sure he stays away from me. He did something at work, I don't know what, as obviously I have no way to gain that information, but whatever it was cost him his job. My lawyer also did something I didn't expect him to, but something I think everyone will like. He took the letter my ex-Sil sent me and forwarded it to the domestic violence organization she works for, along with an informal statement regarding Alex, his actions, and the decision of the judge. She's been let go as well, and given how tight those organizations are with one another, my lawyer said that the likelihood of her getting a position at another is slim to none. I actually laughed, though I was a bit teary, when he said that, and that Slim is on a leaky rowboat to China. I've been crying a lot lately, but my therapist says it's normal and shows I'm actually processing things instead of bottling them up and pushing them down. I'll try to update in a month or so, if my emotions level out some, to explain a few more of the details, but I wanted to get this out there, and thank everyone for their continued support and encouragement. I appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. You gave me the hope that leaving him wasn't going to be this giant black mark I'd never heal from or move on from. Work is going well, and the sense of normality and routine is helping me avoid feeling like everything has been spiraling out of control. New update. I'm working on me now. It's been a month since I finally was able to share the success of my divorce from Alex. My mood swings are still happening, but they don't last quite as long anymore, so I'm taking that as a good sign. My therapist recommended that I sign up for some kind of physical activity, just to help work out and channel what she called the flight instincts more. So I've joined a local self-defense club and I'm going twice a week. I felt really awkward in the beginning, but they've all been super nice and welcoming, so it's been easier. It has helped, I think. A lot of my jitteriness and anxiety has calmed and I'm sleeping better as well. I've also joined a book club, though it's all online at the moment. They're discussing the possibility of meeting in person rather than over Skype at a local park. It's hard, honestly. I feel like a kid that just changed schools and sometimes feel like it's either sink or swim. My therapist pointed out that if I feel like I'm sinking, to stop, take a step back and remind myself that I have all the control over my actions. If I don't like something, I don't have to do it. I can feel my emotions, but I also need to not let them control and dictate my actions. She also pointed out how I've developed a tendency to try and fix other people's bad moods. She told me that they're adults, and it's not my responsibility to manage anyone else's emotions other than my own. It's been hard. But I'm getting there. I think in a year, as a celebration for my divorce, I may go visit my grandmother's grave. Just to talk, if nothing else, as silly as that may sound. I passed on you thanks to my lawyer, who smiled and said, a bit smugly I might add, that he loves giving people who thought they were untouchable the karma they deserved. He went on to add that he enjoyed being karma's helping hand. My lawyer has kept abreast of what's been happening with Alex and his sister both, just to make sure they don't try anything. According to him, my ex-Sil threw a fit when she was let go from the DV center, enough that she was barred from the premises. It seems that she shares some traits with her brother in regards to temper. She's now working at Lowe's apparently, as while she was a volunteer at the DV center, she has to pay some fines for damages she caused during the incident that got her banned. As for Alex, he's been quiet, which worried me at first. But my lawyer told me he's keeping his head down. He's gotten another job with a construction crew, but with everything he has to pay, he cannot afford to lose his job. I was awarded damages for emotional distress and harm, as he never touched me physically. I was able to prove my statements thanks to records of the text conversations between Alex and I regarding the tracker and not leaving the house without permission. As my financial situation is stable, I don't need alimony, so my lawyer advised not to try for it and focus on compensation for damages instead. Alex's family apparently hates me now, as they've reached out to my lawyer, telling him to pass on the message that I've successfully ruined both Alex and his sister's lives over my lies. Honestly, at this point, I'm getting to the point of not caring anymore. I only have so much to give right now for emotional needs and I want it for my own, not to expend on someone else if that makes any kind of sense. So that's where I'm at right now. It's hard, coming up to the holidays and being alone, but a few weeks ago, I found a kitten in the alley next to my work. He's a tiny, raggedy little thing. He's black, long hair with 3 white paws, and he's also missing his tail. He's got the first vertebrae but nothing else. According to the vet, Mom may have accidentally bitten it off at birth, which I didn't even know happened, but apparently it does. I'm calling him Bandit. So I'm not alone anymore, but now I have a kitten that thinks everything needs to be hunted. Including my toes too. I wear slippers constantly cause those little claws of his are like freaking daggers, I swear. I'll update again if anyone wants me to, but yeah, that's where things are now. Stories number 4. My mother-in-law cut my hair in my sleep because she thought I cheated on my husband. So, I'm still processing this, but I need to get it off my chest. Last night, I woke up and realized someone had butchered my hair. One side is a jagged pixie cut, and the other side hangs awkwardly past my shoulder. At first, I thought I was losing my mind, maybe I sleepwalked or something, but no. I confronted my husband, Tim, because he's been acting weird lately, but he denied it. Then he drops this bombshell: my mom, she might have done it. Apparently, my MIL, let's call her Diane, is convinced I've been cheating on Tim. Why? Because last week, she saw me having lunch with a coworker. For the record, the coworker, Kyle, is gay and we were literally talking about work. But Diane decided I must be having an affair and, instead of, talking to me or Tim, she broke into our house in the middle of the night with scissors and went full Edward Scissorhands on my hair. This morning, I confronted her. At first, she played innocent, but when I pressed her, she literally said, "Well, maybe now you'll think twice before humiliating my son." I was fuming. I told her Kyle isn't even into women, but she just rolled her eyes and said something like, "That's what they all say." I didn't even know how to respond to that level of delusion. Tim is horrified and apologetic, but I'm struggling here. This woman violated my personal space, destroyed my hair, and acted like she was in the right. I want to go no contact with her, but Tim is stuck between me and his mom, and I feel like this is going to be a huge blow-up in our marriage. Any advice? Because I'm honestly at a loss here. TLDR, my MIL cut my hair in my sleep because she thinks I'm cheating on my husband. I'm not. Now I don't know how to handle her or my marriage. Edit. My husband and I will be going to my MIL tomorrow to talk to her about the situation again. Hopefully everyone will be calmed down by then and I won't have to threaten legal action. Thank you for all the support and suggestions. I will keep them in mind. Update. My mother-in-law cut my hair in my sleep because she thought I cheated on my husband, and now I found out my husband helped her. Same post, the next morning about 12 hours later. After the conversation we had with Diane this morning, I noticed my husband, Tim, was acting weird. At first, I thought it was just guilt about standing up to his mom, but it felt like more than that. He's been avoiding eye contact and getting defensive when I bring up what happened. Earlier, I couldn't take it anymore, so I sat him down and told him he needed to be 100% honest with me about everything. That's when he dropped the bombshell. Apparently, Diane didn't come up with the haircut idea on her own. Tim admitted that he knew about it ahead of time, and even helped her. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. He said he truly thought I was cheating on him with Kyle, my gay coworker, because Diane had convinced him that there was too much evidence to ignore. When she suggested cutting my hair as some kind of weird punishment, he didn't stop her. In fact, he let her into our house that night while I was sleeping. Tim said he didn't want to confront me directly because he wasn't ready for the truth. So instead, he let his mother do this insane thing to me, thinking it would force me to come clean. Afterward, when I didn't admit to cheating, he started to realize he might have been wrong, but by then, he didn't know how to tell me what he'd done. He kept saying, "I'm so sorry, I was just confused, but I honestly don't know how to process this." This wasn't just Diane acting like a lunatic, this was both of them, and my own husband betrayed me in one of the most humiliating ways possible. I packed a bag and am staying with a friend tonight and while I figure out what to do. I don't know if I can ever trust Tim again after this. It's not just the haircut, it's the fact that he didn't talk to me, believed the worst about me without any proof, and actively participated in something so cruel and violating. As for Diane, she's officially dead to me. I've already told Tim that I don't want her in my life ever again, regardless of what happens between us. Right now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to file a police report on both of them for what they did, but I'm scared of how messy it will get. Another part of me just wants to cut ties and move on, but that feels like letting them off too easy. I don't know what my next step is, but I do know this: I deserve better than this. Thank you to everyone who has supported me through this. Your comments and advice have meant the world, and I'm truly grateful for the kindness and understanding. It's helping me find the strength to figure out what comes next. Edit 2. To everyone saying this is fake, I don't know how to make you believe me, and honestly, I shouldn't have to. I'm sitting here, crying in my friend's guest room, completely broken, trying to make sense of how my life has fallen apart in the span of 24 hours. My husband, the person I thought I could trust the most, betrayed me in the most humiliating way possible. His mother violated me in my sleep, and now strangers are telling me my pain isn't real. I wish with everything in me that this wasn't real. I wish I wasn't sitting here trying to figure out how to rebuild my life, how to ever trust someone again, or how to even face the people around me after this. I've barely eaten, been shaking all day, and I feel like my world is crumbling beneath me. I turned to Reddit because I didn't know where else to go. I needed advice, a sense of support, something to help me hold myself together. But these accusations? They're just making me feel even more alone. If you can't believe me, fine, but please don't make this harder than it already is. I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone. Update 2, I think I'm going to divorce him, and I may file a police report. Same post, the next evening, about 24 hours later. After everything that's happened, I've been thinking a lot about my next steps, and I've come to a heartbreaking but necessary conclusion: I don't think there's any coming back from this. I trusted Tim with my heart, my safety, my life, and he betrayed me in ways I never thought possible. I can't imagine a future where I feel safe with him, where I can trust him, or where I don't carry the weight of this violation every day. I'm strongly considering filing for divorce. The thought of staying with him feels unbearable, but at the same time, I can't stop worrying about the messiness of it all. I just want to cut ties completely, to walk away and rebuild my life without him or his mother dragging me down any further. As for filing a police report, I'm leaning toward it, but I'm scared of what it might bring. I know what they did was a crime. My own husband let his mother into our home to assault me in my sleep. But the thought of dealing with legal battles, or even just having to relive this again and again in statements, is exhausting. Part of me wants to hold them accountable, but another part just wants to run far away and never look back. Right now, I'm taking it one step at a time. I've been talking to friends, trying to find some clarity in all this chaos. It's terrifying and painful, but I know one thing for sure: I deserve so much better than this. Thank you to everyone who has shown me kindness and support, it means the world to me right now. Update number 3, I've contacted a lawyer and decided to press charges, same post, 2 days later. Hi everyone. I just wanted to give an update after everything that's happened. After spending the last couple of days trying to process everything, I finally made some concrete decisions. First, I contacted a divorce lawyer. I explained the entire situation, including what my husband admitted to and how his mother violated my trust and personal safety. The lawyer was very supportive and walked me through the process of filing for divorce. While it feels daunting, I know this is the best decision for me. I can't see a future where I could ever trust my husband again after what he allowed to happen. Second, I decided to press charges against my mother-in-law. I've filed a police report for assault, and I've documented everything: photos of my hair, text messages, and the timeline of events. While I'm still nervous about how messy this could get, I refuse to let her get away with what she did. What she did wasn't just humiliating, it was an act of violence, and she needs to be held accountable for it. As for my husband, I've made it clear that I'm done. I've moved out and will not be returning. I've blocked his mother entirely and am limiting any communication with him to legal matters only. I'm still scared, hurt, and figuring things out, but I feel a little more empowered now that I've taken these steps. Thank you to everyone who has offered me advice, support, and encouragement. It's helped me more than you know. This is still far from over, but I'm determined to move forward and build a better future for myself. I'll keep you updated as things progress. Can this conversation with my husband be used for a police report and divorce? I'm going through an incredibly traumatic situation, and I don't know what my legal options are. My mother-in-law entered my home in the middle of the night, with my husband's knowledge, and cut my hair while I was sleeping. She did this because she believed I was cheating. I wasn't. I confronted my husband, and while he didn't outright admit to planning this, he essentially confessed to knowing what his mom intended to do and letting her into our house that night. I'm planning to leave him and am seriously considering filing both a police report for assault on my MIL and a report against my husband for enabling her. 1. Would this conversation be enough to support filing a police report for what happened? 2. Could it help me in a divorce if I decide to pursue one? 3. Is it worth consulting a lawyer even if I'm not 100% sure about filing a report yet? I've documented everything, photos of my hair, text messages with my husband, and written down the timeline of events. I just don't know if this conversation would actually hold up as evidence since he doesn't outright admit to anything but heavily implies it. Any advice is appreciated. I'm feeling lost, scared, and overwhelmed right now. Editor's note: included in the post are 2 screenshots of text messages between OOP and her husband. I have transcribed the conversation below. Me, redacted. I need you to be honest with me. Did you know what redacted was going to do? My husband: I didn't think it would go this far. Me, that is not an answer. Did you know she was planning to cut my hair? My husband: she was upset, okay? She kept saying you needed to learn a lesson, but I didn't think she would actually do it. Me, learn a lesson? Are you hearing yourself right now? She told you what she was going to do and you still let her in. My husband: I thought maybe she'd cool down after talking to you. Me, she told you she wanted to teach me about lesson by cutting my hair, and you thought it would be fine. Redacted: what is wrong with you? My husband: I didn't know how to handle it, okay? She was so worked up, I didn't want to make things worse. Me, worse? How could it possibly get worse? You knew. Redacted: you knew she was going to do it and you let her. My husband: I didn't mean for it to happen like this. Me, but it did happen. And now I'm sitting here humiliated, betrayed, and wondering how I'm supposed to ever trust you again. My husband: I'm sorry, I really am. Me, sorry doesn't fix this. Me, sorry doesn't make me feel safe in my own home anymore. I don't know who you are anymore. Me, I need space to figure this out. My husband: redacted, please just come home and we can talk about this. Me, no. You made your choice and now I have to make mine. Stories number 5. I moved into my BF's house and I haven't been able to sleep well for 3 weeks because he doesn't let me. I had a breakdown last night and broke a lamp. I'm going to stay in a hotel tonight, Aita. I moved into my BF's house, he owns, 3 weeks ago and it's been really hard. We have been fighting a lot. Many of our fights are because he doesn't let me sleep. I work 9 to 5 so I have to wake up at 8ish. He works whenever he wants so he doesn't have a set sleep schedule. I used to go to sleep 11 to 11:30 p.m. prior to living with him. I compromised to 12 to 12:30 a.m., but there are nights he goes to bed 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. There is a master bedroom and a guest bedroom. I was sleeping in the master and he would go in and out disrupting me so I have yelled at him. He tells me, give me 10 minutes and I'll be in bed. Hours go by, he is still not in bed, and making noises the kitchen or living room. He told me you can go to sleep without me. There is a lot of noise when he comes into the master and he says that's where all his things are there so he needs to go in and out. I tried sleeping in the guest room, does not have a lock, but when I do so he comes into there and disrupts my sleep instead of just going in the master. I have only been getting 5 to 6.5 hours of sleep for weeks now, very broken. Yesterday evening I told him I have a doctor's appointment at 8 a.m. before work so I have to be up at 6:30ish. I got ready for bed at 10 p.m. in the guest room and was watching TV on my computer with a plan to go to sleep at 11 p.m. I put a note on the door, saying, I have to be up early, please be considerate. I fell asleep at 11:30ish with my eye mask on, fan on for white noise, always use this, sleep podcast, and he came in 3 times while I was sleeping and woke me up. He was drunk, turned on the light, pulled up my eye mask. I begged him every time to let me go to sleep because I have to be awake early. Then he started making a lot of noise in the hallway saying he was having 8 strippers over. Making sex noises in the bedroom. I told him, I'm leaving, I just want to sleep, why don't you let me sleep? I was on my hands and knees on the floor crying and he said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was just playing I'm a jerk. I told him I need to go get some sleep and my plan was to just sleep in my car. It was now 1 a.m. I left and he's calling me telling me he is sorry and he's in bed, can I come back and we can go to sleep? I come back and he is not in bed, he is in the basement getting laundry. I said I want to go to sleep. I try to sleep again and he then comes in and starts cuddling me telling me he loves me and he's sorry. I ask him to come to my appointment with me tomorrow and he agrees. I said I have to go to the bathroom. I go pee and when I come out he is in the bathroom. 10 minutes go by and he's still in there. I start screaming at him to come, he says he's peeing. Then I go and open the door and he closes it before I can get in. He tells me he's taking NyQuil. I just freaked out. I go into the bedroom and pull off everything on the dresser onto the floor. I then turn over the lamp nightstands, ended up breaking one. He pushes me onto the bed and there is a necklace that he said he can't find. He is freaking out and I'm scared so I tell him I'll help him find it. We find it. It's past 2 a.m. and we go to sleep in the guest room. He is on my side so I just go into the master and sleep there until my alarm goes off. I wake him up and he starts getting ready and he notices his front veneer is gone, was there last night. He accuses me of taking it. I said I didn't, I try to help him but I have to go to my doctor's appointment so I say let's go and I'll help you find it afterward. He says he wants to find it so he stays. On the way there he texts me, you don't care about me, get out and leave me alone. You are one of the most selfish individuals I met. I don't respond. Then he calls me saying he found it. I go to my appointment, get back home and I have to work 9 to 5:30 p.m. today. IWFH, he is sleeping as I type this. I am going to get a hotel tonight and look into moving out this weekend. I feel horrible for throwing stuff on his dresser on the floor, but I can't take this constant lack of sleep, Aita. Update. Update 1, same post a few hours later. Update, thank you to everyone for the responses and for opening my eyes to the reality of my situation. I feel as though I have been in a daze, doubting myself and questioning my own sanity, absolutely do not recommend not sleeping. I logged off work early saying I wasn't feeling well. I checked into a hotel. Not the closest one because I think he may look for my car there first. Going to sleep now. Update 2, same post. Second update, context, this is a different relationship than my last posts. I started dating this guy in February 2024. He actually proposed to me at the end of May 2024 after a few months of dating with a stunning engagement ring. I said I wasn't sure because it was so soon, wore it for a day and gave it back. I said I wanted us to know each other better and live together before that step. I accepted a contract startup position in July with my job halfway across the country and was gone for weeks at a time. He asked me to move into his apartment before I accepted that position but I told him I wanted to see it though. I would come back for 1 to 2 weeks at a time and we would stay together. He always stayed up later than me until 1 to 2 a.m., but he would put headphones in, turn off lights, be quiet/respectful when I was sleeping. It was only after I moved into his house, mid-November, that things escalated. He told me he wanted to put me on the deed of the house, however, I declined. There is a safe in the house where he keeps cash, probably drugs too. Maybe a gun, he was quite dodgy about answering this. He asked me if I wanted the code. I said no, I didn't want to be accused if ever anything was missing. The red flags were there and my intuition was trying to warn me, should have listened to it sooner. I slept for 11 hours. Yay! My parents live 5 hours away. I was planning to see them Christmas Eve. I called and told them everything. Staying with a friend tonight, my dad offered to pick me up tomorrow and I'll be there for a few weeks, at least. I will be breaking up with my BF but I want to be a few states away before I tell him. If he shows up at my parents' home, we're going to call the police. My dad and my brother said they'll come back with me later on to get the rest of my belongings, if I even want to go back there to get them. I just know I can't do it right now. Thank you all. Stories number 6. Aita for demanding back a loaned antique that wasn't supposed to be a gift. I, 45F, have a dear friend, Lauren, 43F. We grew up together, and she was a bridesmaid at my wedding 20 years ago. Several years ago my husband and I had a great opportunity to work and live abroad for a few years. It required that we sell our house and most of our belongings, and put the rest in storage. One item I did not want to let go was a beautiful antique crystal lamp that belonged to my late grandmother. It holds many important memories for me. Unfortunately, our storage unit was so full that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to squeeze it in without giving up something else we wanted to keep. I mentioned this dilemma to Lauren, and she jumped in with an offer to hold on to the lamp for me. She said it would look gorgeous in her living room and she would be proud to display it there until we got back. I was thrilled. Well, our time abroad recently came to an end and we are now back in the US. We bought a new house, collected our belongings from storage, and are in the process of furnishing it. I asked Lauren for my lamp back, and she got all pissy and said that she understood it was a gift. I reminded her that it was a family heirloom that she promised to keep for me until I got back, but she insists that's not how she remembers it. She said she adores this lamp, it's the focal point of her living room decor, and that if I demanded it back our friendship would be over. I'm heartbroken. She is one of my oldest friends, and while she can be quirky, she's never done anything like this before. I don't want to lose her friendship, but I also don't want to lose a treasured family heirloom. It's also worth quite a bit of money, it appraised at over $2,000. To be clear, I am 100% confident that I did not tell her it was hers to keep. Given our lifelong friendship, I thought it was safe to leave it with her. I can't even fathom why she thinks I gave it to her. We are not rich, I would never give a gift that expensive to anyone. To make matters worse, I told my sister about all of this, and she hit the roof. That lamp holds memories for her too, and she was livid that it might be lost to our family. I've always intended to pass it down to my own daughter. So last week I told Lauren I want the lamp. She burst into tears and accused me of putting material things over friendship, but said she'd give it back, although she keeps coming up with excuses why she's been too busy to either bring it over or let me come by to get it. Now I'm wondering if she's right. Is a lifelong friendship more important than a lamp? Aita for demanding it back, hurting Lauren's feelings and making her think I don't care about our friendship. Update. I got the lamp back. I want to thank everyone who commented for all of the support. It helped me to see how I was allowing Lauren to manipulate me into believing that somehow I was in the wrong for wanting my lamp back. Early this morning I drove over to her house. It's Saturday so I figured she'd be home, and she was. I could tell as soon as she opened the door that she knew why I was there. And yes, the lamp was there. Someone commented a suggestion that I bring her a bottle of wine to thank her for caring for my lamp, and I thought that was a great idea. Lauren does love wine. Winky face. I brought her a very nice bottle that we brought back from abroad. I said I'm sorry things have gotten tense between us, and I do value her friendship very much. I handed her the bottle and told her this is a gift to say thank you for taking such good care of my grandma's lamp. I said, I'm sorry if there was any confusion about my intention in letting you hold on to it, but I think you know now how important that heirloom is to me and my family, and I need to take it back. She kept saying she believed it was a gift, but I stood my ground and said she is remembering it wrong. I reminded her that this was a family heirloom. I said, think about this, to you, it's a pretty lamp. To me, it's a reminder of my departed grandma, and all the wonderful times spent in her house with this lamp lighting up her living room. How could she argue with that? I didn't get angry, I remained calm but firm. In the end she just threw her hands up and said, fine, and I unplugged the lamp, gave her a hug and left. She was clearly upset, but I didn't stick around to see how she reacted. I don't know what's going to happen with our friendship. I will say that I feel differently about her now, but if she is willing to move past this, so am I. Lifelong friends are hard to come by, and one dispute shouldn't end it. If we do move forward, I will know not to trust her with something like this again. But it's entirely possible I will never hear from her again. I don't plan on reaching out anytime soon. There were too many comments for me to address them all, but I want to answer a few questions. First, I wasn't going to get the police involved. This is a civil matter, not criminal. I know I had the option of small claims court, and I guess I would have if necessary. I have plenty of photos of that lamp in my other house, and even in my grandma's living room. My sister lives in another state, so bringing her wasn't an option. My husband would have come with me, but I wanted to try to work this out between us. Yes, I should have gotten something in writing before we left, but it was a very chaotic time and I just didn't think about anything but being grateful I didn't have to figure out how to squeeze the lamp into storage. Lesson learned. I don't really care what she says to our mutual friends. If anyone asks me about it, I'll tell them the truth. Stories number 7. My daughter is going to marry her 2 boyfriends. My daughter, F23, has been dating these 2 guys on and off. J, M24, and S, M23. They have been friends for years. I've known both of them since they were kids. J was my daughter's first boyfriend. After time she started dating S. When both relationships ended they all stayed friends until J and S started dating in college. I have nothing against gay relationships or whatever, but it's just kind of weird that 2 people share an ex and start dating. Well, I'm not one to judge, I guess. Now, a year and a half ago my daughter told her father and I that she was in a polygamous relationship with J and S. She told us that she has always loved them both and J and S were honest about how they never stopped loving her and basically now the 3 of them are in a relationship. Again, I'm not one to judge or pry. I told my daughter that as long as it made her happy, it was fine. Now, she and her boyfriends went on a trip a few days ago and last night she called us excited saying that J and S proposed to her. Yes, both guys proposed to her at the same time and she said yes. I congratulated her as genuinely as I could, but honestly all this seems crazy to me. One thing is dating and another is marriage. I don't know if my concepts are very outdated. I know that open marriages exist, but this seems very strange to me. Edit, this ended up getting more attention than I expected. Thank you all for your advice. Sorry if I don't respond to all the comments, there are many, and heartfelt thanks to those who care about my daughter and those who are brutally honest. I am glad I asked for advice here, now I don't feel so confused. Some are asking for an update. I'm sorry to tell you that there is nothing to update yet. My daughter will be back from vacation in a few days and my husband and I, along with the boys' parents, want to talk to them to congratulate them properly but also ask them some questions. Update. Hello again. Here is the future mother-in-law of 2 lovely boys. My daughter came back from her vacation a week ago, but I've been very busy so far and my daughter also asked me to give her an update and I can rarely say no to something, so let's get to it. First of all, we received the engaged trio at my house, the boys' parents, my son and my husband, and I received them with a small improvised party with a cake and a congratulations sign. I have to admit that there was a lot of emotion and I cried a little. Of course, we took the opportunity to talk as a family about their plans for the future, since it is not legal for 3 people to marry. You were right, they know it is illegal, so they only plan to have wedding will be spiritual or symbolic, in their words. For now, they decided to have a long-term commitment, since Jay will graduate from university next year and when he starts working he will have a pretty good salary, and that will allow them to save up for the wedding they want. We raised the possibility that only 2 of them get legally married, and yes, it is a possibility that is on the table. Apparently all 3 agree that J and S get legally married if possible. It is not yet completely decided and there is still a lot of research to be done. We do not know if gay marriage is also allowed in our state, so it is only a hypothetical possibility. We have talked about many things and in fact there are still several things that are still up in the air. I promise I will try to keep you informed since everyone has been very kind to me. I showed my kids and husband the post. My daughter was horrified at first, but not because of the post but because apparently people on Reddit can be extremely cruel and apparently I was lucky that people were so kind. LMAO. I'm glad to say that everything is fine. My daughter thanks you for caring about her and I thank you again for that. I'm busy with work right now, but if you have any questions I'll try to answer them. In any case, I don't know if I'll make another update on this topic since after all I just needed some advice and I got some good ones. Who knows, just don't wait up, huh? Stories number 8. My 23F boyfriend, 25M, of 1 year is starting to gross me out and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting. Hello, Reddit. This is really awkward and embarrassing to share, but I can't think of anywhere else to get advice. I've been dating James for just over a year. We have a really good relationship and we are good with communicating any issues that we have come to. I am very much in love with him and we are happy. Now, maybe he is very comfortable with me now, which I know is a good thing, but I'm very frustrated and I don't know if it's just me. This is the only issue I have with him. He's just constantly farting and burping and it's starting to really gross me out. It feels stupid to even type that, but it's really become excessive. We are both graduated from school and work full-time. We do not live together but he is starting to move into my apartment. This started about 5 months into our relationship and it has gotten progressively worse. He will burp constantly and blow it into my face, to a point where I will start dry heaving, because he thinks it's funny. He does the same thing with farting, always trying to do it on me because he thinks it's hilarious. I know it's normal, I grew up with 4 brothers, but he is constantly forcing it to happen. This is not once or twice. We have spent almost every night together the past 6 months, and it will happen all night. All night. I have asked him to please stop because I find it really gross, especially the burping because he will do it in my face and it turns my stomach and he will apologize but still continue to do it. Or lean in for a kiss and burp in my face instead, then laugh himself to the point of tears when I act disgusted. I thought maybe, at first, he was just really gassy and I should be more understanding because it's a natural bodily function. He does not do this when we are out to dinner or with friends. A few months ago we went to a wedding together with some members of his family and he accidentally burped really loudly like he normally does when he is alone with me, and our table went really silent and glared at him. I didn't want him to be embarrassed so I high-fived him and said, "Good one." And the whole table started laughing and cheering and he pulled me aside and said he was thankful I did so, as he was humiliated but I broke the ice. I was a bit drunk and frustrated so I asked him why he does it to me constantly but he wouldn't do it in front of other people. His reasoning is that I am his girlfriend and he should be able to play around with me like that. That I was being a typical girl for finding it rude, uptight, high maintenance. I didn't want to argue about it, so I told him I was none of those things and he knew it. Cut the bullshit, we'll talk about it later when we're sober and just have a fun time at the party for now. And we did. But it never changes. I've tried to make plans to be out of the house when we see each other, because even though it seems ridiculous it's starting to stress me out. I can't talk to any of my friends about it because they think it's so funny. He is a very sweet guy, I like spending time with him, but I feel nauseous when we are alone together because it's just so gross. He is starting to work longer shifts so he wants to stay in a lot most nights to relax. He started doing it during sex, as a joke, and our sex life has really suffered because of it. A few nights ago he was texting me before he got off work, complaining about his day and he seemed really stressed out so I told him I would come over and I'll make his favorite and I'll make him forget about it. So I went over to his house and started cooking until he was off. After dinner he leaned in to kiss me, and I turned my head because I'm so used to him burping in my face. We had an argument because he was accusing me of cheating, we haven't been having sex. I told him it was because of the burping, and he said I needed to get over it, that he was only joking and I was being such a prude. That his girlfriend shouldn't reject a kiss from him yada yada. I told him that I've been saying this is a problem for a while, I don't think it's funny at all. I have thrown up because of it, he started to laugh as I said that. And I just, kinda lost it. I don't really yell at people, I am a calm and collected person, so I scared him a bit. I told him it was disgusting and I am getting to the point where I'm no longer attracted to him, that I've been trying so hard to be understanding but it's a two-way street. It wasn't to me about something being gross or funny anymore, it was about respect. He kind of got defensive, trying to throw in how I was overreacting, being ridiculous, but I shut it down and he apologized because he apparently didn't know I felt so strongly about it. He would try not to do it anymore, at all. I don't care that it happens. I only care that he forces it. Etc. Now, having talked it out, for the next couple of hours he actually didn't try to burp in my face or fart on me. I was so happy I could enjoy cuddling my boyfriend without trying not to vomit. So I started unzipping his pants, to make him forget about his bad day. You already know where this is going. It's humiliating but I'm going to type it out anyway. As I was trying to blow him he pushed my head down so I couldn't get away and tensed up and started farting loudly, while laughing. I was so frustrated I started crying immediately. I think he realized he did something wrong because he let go of my head and tried to hold me and he kept saying, "I'm sorry, I thought you meant to do it less." I thought it was going to be funny, to break the tension from before. But I got up and left his apartment. That was 2 days ago. He has tried calling me, texting me constantly. I have not responded. His messages range from being very apologetic to very angry, back and forth. I don't know what to do and I feel like this relationship is over but I still love him. I feel also, really gross and violated in a way. Our mutual friends have been texting me as well asking if everything is okay, and I've tried explaining the situation to my best friend but he found it hilarious. So I'm afraid to explain it to anyone else. This is just, so stupid. I literally feel like I'm crazy, maybe I am uptight etc. I also have a lot of his stuff over here that belongs to him and I'm worried he will come back to get it and I'll have to face him. What should I do? Am I just overreacting? TLDR, my boyfriend is constantly burping in my face and farting on me even though I don't find it funny, am I overreacting? Update. Thank you for everyone who replied to my original post, and also those who PM'd me. I wasn't really expecting as much support, but I'm glad that I'm not alone. Last night I was pretty miserable and just felt confused and sick about the whole thing. It really helped me deal with what I was feeling and rationalize, reading what everyone had written. I just want to clear a few things up before I get into how this has climaxed for me. My boyfriend did not start out doing this constantly. I remember the first time he did it I was confused and told him right away I did not like it calmly and he seemed to understand. I have never laughed when he did it purposely. I know the difference between an accident and what he does. A lot of the replies helped me examine my relationship as a whole. We have had other problems that seem to fit the same pattern. He had the same behavior with driving very fast for fun and he had the same issue with playfully pinching and tickling, but he was doing it so hard it would leave bruises. I always expressed that I did not like this, but he was insistent that I was overreacting. When I showed him he was actually hurting me, he stopped completely and never did it since. I didn't think it was an important thing to bring up. I think it's a bit harsh to call him abusive. Because he respected that boundary. I know a lot of people were suggesting that I do the same thing to him, or retaliate in the same way, and it might sound nice to entertain that fantasy, but I'm really not like that. I will never let someone else's actions define who I am as a person. I know I will never try to intentionally hurt someone, and that makes me have faith in myself. A few of you made me really cry because before I wrote my post I was completely unsupported and I felt alone and, well, really ridiculous and dumb. So thank you very much for taking the time to help me even though I'm a stranger and none of you owe me anything, let alone your time and kindness. Thank you. Now on to today. I have not replied to any of James' messages. I blocked him on all devices. I feel like I basically told him was over and he knew that. I have messaged a few of our mutual friends back saying that I would really appreciate it if they would just drop it, that everything is okay with me but the relationship is over between us. A post said I didn't have to explain the situation completely, so I did that. They seemed very understanding except one replied saying, over a one-time incident. Get real LOL, but with so long as you're happy, it didn't really bother me, because I know the truth. It was hurtful that James may have lied, but I'd rather surround myself with people who value honesty. I also invited my best friend over and asked him if he could help me box all of James' belongings, to which he agreed right away. He kept asking me what happened, and if I was okay, so I showed him this post and he was disgusted. He apologized for laughing when I had tried to tell him earlier because he said he didn't know it was so serious. He offered to take James' belongings to him, but I made him promise to not be hostile or I'd ask someone else. He agreed. We spent a lot of the day in my apartment, when the front door opened. It's hard for me to articulate myself, but I'll try to type it exactly as it happened. We both heard it and stopped talking immediately. It was James. I'm not going to lie, I was immediately frightened and maybe I could have handled it better, but I kind of just stood there. I just didn't expect to see him. He has never showed up at my home or work without a warning. My friend asked him what the fuck he thinks he was doing here. James kept staring at me and ignored him saying, I thought you were dead or something, why have you been ignoring me? My friend stepped in front of him and handed him one of the boxes and told him he could take his stuff and leave, that it was over and I didn't want to talk to him. James laughed and made a move towards me and said I needed to talk to him alone, but my friend moved in front of him and told him that he shouldn't be in my house uninvited, that it was illegal and he was going to call the police. Then James got really mad and twisted his face all weird and I can't explain it, but he started yelling and it was like he wasn't the same person at all. He called me a slut and a cunt and said that I was some ridiculous princess and he just kept going, my friend telling him, that's nice, now you need to leave or I'm gonna make you. And then James threw down his box and punched my friend in the face. I don't remember exactly, but my friend fell back and James came up to me and he grabbed me and started shaking me saying I was stupid for throwing this all away and that I was probably sleeping with my friend. I was very afraid and I couldn't believe this was happening. My friend got up and grabbed him by the back of his shirt and threw him off me and shoved him out of my apartment. James ran away down the hall kicking people's doors and screaming. My neighbor had come out of his apartment and asked what was going on and I told him to call the ambulance because my friend was bleeding from his nose. I was so embarrassed. At the hospital I kept embarrassing myself crying and apologizing to my friend while we were in the waiting room. His nose is broken, he keeps making Owen Wilson jokes/impressions, but he is okay. Now, I am at my friend's house because I am afraid to go home. He said I can stay with him for as long as I need to. I feel really awful that my friend got his nose broken because I was a bad judge of character. I also feel really guilty that I got so scared I just kind of stood there and let my friend get hurt. My friend is taking me to the police station to file a report, but I just want this whole thing to be over, but he is being insistent because I need to do this to ensure my safety. This is my first relationship and I don't even know if this person was real. I didn't think this was even possible to happen. I don't understand what I missed and I feel like I'm vibrating inside because of how frightened I am. I want to go home to my apartment but I'm afraid he will come back. The way my head is does not make any sense. I feel ashamed even writing all of this because it was from something so small and juvenile, so I don't know I'm just handling it weird or my head is blowing it completely out of proportion. How do I proceed now, after I file a report? Has anyone been in this same situation before? How do people hide that kind of anger for over a year? Why did this happen? I'm sorry for the questions, but I just can't make sense of my own thoughts right now. TLDR, my ex-boyfriend came to confront me and hurt my friend. How do I make him stay away and get back to normal? Final update. Things are great. Thank you for your kind words. It's been a trip rereading a post I made a decade ago. A friend of mine actually sent this to me because it reminded them of an anecdote I had shared with them a few years ago. Lo and behold, it was my own words. Rereading it has been a bit harrowing to say the least, but the mindset I had back then was completely different. I was a very meek person and my brothers treated me the same way in my own family dynamic. Obviously not with the sexual stuff, but being able to do things that bothered me or hurt me and I wasn't allowed to complain, so it was normalized for me. To answer your question, no, my best friend and I did not end up together. We're still very close, but our relationship has always been platonic. I actually helped him with an ex a few years after this, though it consisted of less bodily functions. My gross ex. After this and despite pressing charges, he did try to harass me for a while, almost a year if I recall correctly. I think he just liked the feeling of making me miserable and couldn't let go or comprehend how I was so thoroughly under his finger, but ended up pushing back, so it was hard for him to relinquish that. Not of me as a person but of that feeling of control. But for the first time in my life, instead of shutting down, I was actually angry, mostly on behalf of my best friend for being hurt. I knew my friend did not deserve to be attacked like that. I did end up focusing on myself and I went to therapy, for both the relationship and other factors, family etc., so I could be a healthier person, as I said in my last comment on that post. I didn't date anyone for a while after, and focused mostly on building friendships and self-reflection. There were a lot of red flags I missed besides the other ones I mentioned in this post, like how he aggressively pursued me, sexual things despite my inexperience, etc. But hindsight is indeed 20/20. Stories number 9. How to get fired by your hairdresser. So, my amazing, beautiful super cool mother-in-law owns a high-end hair salon, and is a very popular and well-respected hairdresser in our large tourist city. As everyone knows, the pandemic was particularly hard on many businesses, and especially in the way salons operate in general. When they were finally able to open again for the first time, wearing a mask was the law. Salons that did not follow this law were actively being fined and/or closed. On top of that, my husband was diagnosed with a rare form of lymphoma around that time, which makes him extremely vulnerable to any and all colds, flus, and infections. This is where the real trouble started. MIL had a long-time client named Janet, but she absolutely refused to put on a mask. My mother-in-law explained to Janet that she had to wear one because it is the law, and she could be fined far more than her styling costs. Janet doubled down, ranting about her rights as an American, blah, blah, blah. Mother-in-law pushed back again with the law and the fines. Still, Janet remained unmoved. Mother-in-law now got as serious as a mom can get. She explained once again that her son has cancer. Janet rolls eyes. Yeah, I know. I read it on Facebook. Mother-in-law, then you understand that if I get sick, I can't see my son or it could kill him. Janet, so what? Isn't he terminal, anyway? Pause for shock while everyone in the salon just freezes for a second. Mother-in-law backs away from chair. You need to leave. Janet, Pikachu face, what? Why? Hairdresser 2, get out. Get out now. Get out before I call the police. And that is how you get fired from your very expensive hairdresser. How anyone can think their freak in bleach blonde hairdo is more important than the hairdresser's child is beyond me. You know that woman has scissors in her hand, right? Little note about Hub's cancer. Yes, at the time his diagnosis was terminal, but thanks to advances in science he is now living with cancer instead of dying from it. However, he is still quite vulnerable to germs and viruses because it's lymphoma. Update. She's back. About 9 months ago I posted about the most entitled hair salon client my delightful mother-in-law has ever had the displeasure of serving and then firing. TLDR, my husband has incurable cancer. My mother-in-law owns an upscale hair salon. During the pandemic, it was not only the state law for salon clients to wear masks, but my MIL couldn't visit her sick son if she was around people not wearing masks. Client Janet's response to that was, so what? Isn't he terminal anyway? And, boom. Client fired. Apparently, I left a couple of things out of the original post. First, she sings show tunes while being worked on. Her voice is fine, but absolutely no one wants to listen to someone else sing snippets of show tunes while at their own salon day. Janet would not cease doing this no matter how many times mother-in-law gently urged her to stop. Second, on her way out of being kicked out of the salon by all the hairdressers present, Janet said something along the lines of, well, I'll call you in a few months when you've calmed down. That gave us a good laugh, but then. Fast forward to last Wednesday, my mother-in-law usual day off. On that day, she has a married couple who runs the salon. They're relatively new, and weren't around for the Janet incident. Taking advantage of a Groupon deal the couple had posted for themselves, Janet comes into the salon knowing it's mother-in-law day off. She begins by acting like a brand new customer to the salon, but then between show tunes still sings show tunes while in the chair she suddenly reveals she had once been kicked out and barred from this very salon. The new couple, who works as one, was shocked and confused hearing this, but not knowing the full story, just professionally finished the job and then immediately called up mother-in-law. When they heard what had previously transpired, they were gobsmacked and extremely apologetic, but how could they know? It's not like they have a do not serve pic hanging up of the only client MIL has fired in 50 years. LOL. Obviously, the couple has no interest in ever serving her again. MIL then sent a text to Janet, ensuring she understood where she still stands. Hi Janet. I understand you were in the salon the other day. I know it was on Groupon, and Mary was not aware that you are not welcome in my salon. The way you disrespected me and the salon at that time, and added to that the attitude you had when I mentioned that my son has cancer and that I needed to be extra careful was atrocious. How can anyone say to a mother, or another human being, well, he's terminal, isn't he? In the future, please find another salon. If Janet's usual entitled streak continues, and she dares retort, well, no one is going to give a shit. But it would also seem many of the predictions about other hairdressers not wanting to serve her were quite on the nose, and why wealthy Janet is now Groupon hopping through the newest stylists in town. Ha! And a note on Hubs, since the original incident, while still incurable, he has gone from terminal to treatable. So, yay, science. Update. First, she did look her dead in the eye, and told her very firmly to get out of her salon immediately. It took someone else screaming at the woman and threatening to call the cops to actually make her leave. As she was leaving, this woman said something about getting in touch with mother-in-law again when she's calmed down. Mother-in-law again firmly told her, no. Don't ever come back. Second, it took this woman 3 years to pull this second stunt, so for 3 years, it seemed she had indeed disappeared. Third, the text mother-in-law sent was firm and very professional. She is a classy lady in her 70s who is completely capable of getting her point across without resorting to crass, unprofessional language, but I fucking am. She runs a high-end salon, and must comport herself as such even when her clients do not. Fourth, Janet is now blocked. She can't even call the salon or anyone works there. Fifth, karma is chasing Janet down. She can't find another experienced, high-end hairdresser. This is a wealthy woman who is willing to pay $300 a cut, and can't maintain a regular again. Mother-in-law had been her sole stylist for over 15 years. Even in a big city like ours, it's a small community for stylists and techs. Why go overboard when the problem is now crying in her pillow because she couldn't get her special Christmas hairdo, which used to get every single year for over 15 years because only mother-in-law knew how to do it. Sixth, sorry this is so long, I'm just sort of delighting in all the shit this lady brought upon herself, and her absolute rich lady shock of being told no. Stories number 10. Aita to telling my GF that we should break up if she wants to kick my niece out. My brother died to car accident 2 months ago, after he died I took responsibility of his daughter but for some reasons my GF doesn't like it. For some backstory, my brother and I both raised my niece together, he had her when he was only 17 and I was 19 back then, her mom left both her daughter, now 14, and my brother and basically just disappeared. I think she was 23 or 24, anyway my brother took responsibility of his child and I helped him raise her. My brother would often joke about that she's our daughter, god damn I miss him so much. I spoiled her a lot, my brother restricted her, he didn't let her eat chocolates or buy her games, but she would always come to her uncle and I would spoil her, I miss those days. Anyway after my brother died I took my niece under my care, I am still going through legal guardianship paperwork but yeah I am going to raise her. Problem for me is that my GF told me yesterday she doesn't like that my niece is living with us, she said she doesn't want to responsible for a 14-year-old and she is messing with our love life. I asked her what she meant by that, my GF said she's been sleeping in our bed, I said that is a normal grieving process for a child who lost her only parent, there is nothing wrong with her hugging me or finding comfort in me. She said she doesn't want her to sleep with us, I said it's only been 2 months, give her some time, if rubbing her back or massaging her head helps her fall asleep instead of crying then that is good for her. What would she say if we had a daughter and focused on comforting our daughter instead of focusing on you? She said that would be different because she would be our daughter. I got angry and said that if she doesn't like my niece staying with me until she finds her peace then we should break up. I told her currently I am her safe place and she's practically my daughter, I raised her, I share blood with her and now she needs me. My GF started crying, I comforted her and said I am sorry for being so direct but I found what she said a bit offensive and rude, to help her I will hire a maid but please give her some time and show empathy towards a child. My GF has been angry at me since yesterday, she only talks to me when I talk to her and she's completely ignoring my niece and my niece is asking me if she said something wrong to my GF, I said she's just stressed. But I am wondering why my GF is reacting like this. Did I offend her? I don't really want to break up with her but if I have to choose between them I will choose to help my niece for now. Update. I am so surprised that my post blew up and so many people dropped their opinions and thoughts and still commenting on my post. I thank you all and those who were asking, I have been with my GF for 3 years. I also confess that I am in the wrong by not having a clear discussion with my GF and those who were saying my niece should not be sleeping with us instead I should have got her own bed or stay with until she falls asleep, I already tried that, initially she was sleeping alone but she would wake up at night and I had to go to her and console her. She started sleeping with us because she was constantly afraid, it's trauma, she's only 14. To be honest, I don't care if she is sleeping by my side, she had only one parent, I was just a fill-in, and she lost her parents and she's an orphan now, she can sleep by me as long as it helps her, I think it's too soon to pressure her. I went to my GF and said we need to have an honest and open discussion and decide what we should do next. I apologized to her for not thinking about how she would feel but I didn't have a choice, I had to bring my niece in, I also have to worry about all the legal paperworks, her school, my brother's assets and other paperworks. My GF said she doesn't want my niece to live with us and she has tolerated it for long enough, I said I understand but it's kinda unfair that you would be so cruel to a child and I expected that my partner to help me when I am going through so much legal work and care for my niece and work, I wanted your support. She said she will support me but she doesn't want to live with a 14-year-old and care for her, either I choose my niece or her. I explained to her that I understand your frustration and as much as I want to choose you I cannot, you already know that I also have raised her and now she has lost her father only I can help her, she has nowhere else to go except my old parents but they can barely help themselves. She started crying and said I am not her first priority, I said I am sorry but I have no choice, I have been in her life ever since she was born, not only am I attached to her I am also related to her by blood, now that her father is no more, she's mine and I have become a parent, it's difficult but I have no other choice. My GF packed her bag and she left. Before leaving she said we should take our time and think this through and see if we can overcome this, we both decided that we will stay in contact and discuss in future. When my niece came back from school she asked where my GF is, I said she went to her parents, my niece started crying and started blaming herself, she said she is the reason why my life is falling apart and she doesn't have any parents, I guess she picked it up after my GF gave her silent treatment. I comforted her and said that it's not her fault and as long as I am with her she doesn't have to worry about anything, she's going to stay with me from now on. She calmed down and I took her out to her favorite restaurant but I don't feel good at all, I am happy that I choose my niece over everything else but I also lost my love which makes me so fucking angry and sad. Stories number 11. Aita for refusing to co-sign my sister's mortgage after my parents went behind my back. I, 28F, have been busting my butt for years to save for my own house. I work in software, so I make decent money, but it still takes forever to build up a good down payment. Meanwhile, my younger sister, 25F, is in grad school with barely any credit. Our parents, both mid-50s, found a house near them and decided she needs it. They made an offer, without telling me, and now the deal only goes through if I co-sign. The problem? I had no clue they'd do this. My parents basically dropped a bomb: you have the best credit score, co-sign so your sister can get the house. They also hinted I should chip in for the down payment because you've got the money. If I co-sign, I'll be on the hook if my sister can't pay. She's still in school, has debt, and zero backup plan. The bank might also reject my future mortgage application since they'll see I'm already tied to another loan. But my parents say I'm selfish and forgetting family values. My sister's calling me a monster for leaving her stranded, and my mom threatened to cut off any future financial help, like wedding money, if I don't help right now. Some relatives think it's insane my parents tried to rope me into this after they already made the offer. Others say I should just do it for the family's sake. I feel guilty, but also mad they put me in this spot. Aita for protecting my own finances, or are they wrong for strong-arming me into co-signing a mortgage I never wanted in the first place? Edit: I'm actually adopted. LMAO forgot to mention in my confused and angry state. My parents adopted me when I was very young because they'd been struggling to conceive. A few years later, they had my younger sister naturally, which was a huge deal to them. She was their miracle baby. Ever since, it's felt like my role in the family became the older, adopted one, while she was the golden child who could do no wrong. Growing up, I was expected to pitch in more, be more responsible, and generally look out for my sister. I worked my butt off in school, snagged scholarships, and eventually landed a good job in software. All the while, I felt like my family mostly saw me as the fallback option in case anyone needed financial or emotional support. Now that I'm actually building my own life, saving for a house, focusing on my career, I'm realizing how my success just makes me look like a bigger piggy bank to my parents. The more independent I become, the clearer it is that I need to separate myself from the constant guilt trips and the unspoken expectation that I'll always bail them, or my sister, out. I love them, but I can't keep sacrificing my own future to maintain a dynamic where I'm never the priority. So thank you all for the wake-up call. Update to come. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I'm absolutely not signing my sister's mortgage, and I'm definitely not pitching in for any down payment. This whole thing was the final push I needed to realize how messed up our family dynamic has been for ages. I mean, I've always known it was bad, but having them basically try to volunteer me, and my finances, without even asking just crossed a line I can't ignore anymore. I'm done. I've decided to cut ties. I'm already in the process of dropping any financial entanglements we might have, cutting off shared accounts, making sure they can't use my information for anything, and basically scrubbing them from my finances. My job lets me work remotely, so I'm planning to move out of state soon. That was always in the back of my mind, but now it feels urgent. I need space, distance, and a real shot at a normal life without the constant guilt trips. I'm also locking down my credit, freezing it, changing passwords, everything. I'm not taking any chances that someone might try to open a line of credit in my name. I've seen enough horror stories and I'm not about to become one. Thankfully, I'm not alone in all this. My close friends have been incredible. They're basically my real family at this point, helping me pack, offering me a place to stay if I need it, reminding me that I'm not crazy for wanting to protect my future. They've been the biggest source of support, and I'm honestly so grateful to have them in my corner. So yeah, that's it. I'm not signing. I'm leaving. I'm done. If my family wants to blow up at me for abandoning them, so be it. I've got to look out for myself, my credit, and my sanity. Here's to hoping things only get better from here. Everyone who commented their 2 cents are amazing people and I thank you all for your support while I'm dealing with this. Truly thank you. Stories number 12. Am I the asshole for transferring the money I gave my ex back to my account? I, 37 male and, ex, 36 female dated for approximately 3 years. We met during COVID when we both did not have great jobs and since have both moved on to better jobs with much better pay. I have not until spring of 2024 been able to finally get a hold of my finances and catch up on bills and finally chip away the credit card debt I accrued while working several shitty jobs. My ex and I have a unique and somewhat unconventional current relationship. We are broken up now for over a year, currently seeing other people, but still share a place together until January when we are both moving elsewhere. It seems weird, but we ended our relationship on good terms and it helped us both financially to split monthly bills until we found places of our own. Fast forward to the current issue. My ex recently went home to help her parents who have several medical issues and she spent a good amount getting them things they needed. My ex confided in me and said she was stressing financially after her visit home and helping her family. Although she didn't directly ask, she hinted at the idea of me helping her a bit financially to give her a break. I recognized this and told her I would try and help if I could. I offered to cover some of her larger expenses for a month, car insurance, gas, water, internet, some of the rent, etc. Although it was not a tremendous amount, it was enough that I needed to plan my finances around lending it. As I mentioned previously, I only recently got to a good place financially myself. For context, I told her she did not have to pay me back for it. We had a big argument a few weeks ago and it has continued to come up again and again. Shortly after me giving her the money, 2 to 3 weeks, to help her catch a break, I noticed multiple Shine and Amazon packages keep coming in and one night I voiced that I was feeling bitter that I had put myself in a more risky financial situation to help her and to then see her ordering all these packages. I explained I felt like she took advantage of my kindness. I explained that if she was so financially strapped that she needed my help, then why so soon after taking my money was she ordering all these things, instead of using the money I gave her to catch up and save. She said I was an asshole for bringing this up and she should be able to treat herself. She said she wanted nothing from me and Venmo'd me back the money I gave her and said I never cared about her and was just like the others she cut out of her life. So I said, okay fine, I'm not going to keep trying to be there for you and help if it's unappreciated and I'm disrespected in the process. So I transferred the money back to my account. Fast forward to today, my ex says we need to talk, to which I reluctantly agreed to a phone call. I'll spare all the details as it was a long call. Essentially 99% of it was her explaining that Noon is ever or has ever been there for her and she can't rely on anyone and I was like all the other people in her life she couldn't count on and various other swipes at me and my character. She then proceeded to say she can't believe I transferred the money back to my account and that I should have sent it back to her and I was an asshole for doing that. After being told countless times I've never been there for her, I don't why she would expect me to want to send it back again. So Reddit, am I the asshole here? Stories number 13. Husband paid for OnlyFans and now I want a divorce. So exactly as it reads, my husband paid for OnlyFans and now I want a divorce. Me, 32F, and him, 32M, have been together for almost 2 years. We were inseparable, did everything together, both active duty and we are stationed together. When we got to our home port, he stopped putting out though, and I would throw myself at him. He always made sex seem like a chore or would get annoyed because my drive is extremely high compared to his, and to be fair I really wanted to try for children. After a while he just stopped putting out or couldn't get it up, didn't care about me or help me get off and our bed life died, sucked for me so I got some toys. Well he was sleeping the other day and he received an email from OnlyFans that Rebby Rose missed him. Turns out he was paying a girl the whole time and spent a good chunk of our savings on this 18F girl. I was so heartbroken and now I'm constantly comparing myself to her. I'm Christian and believe paying for a OnlyFans girl is cheating and he knows how I've felt about it since it's happened to me before. Porn sites are one thing but paying and talking and receiving videos and texting is a whole other story. He used to yell at me for when I would buy myself nice shirts, TJ Maxx or Goodwill because even though I'm decent I still think I live in poverty since I grew up in low income, but the fact is he was spending our savings on a girl. He went to go home for Christmas with his family as I sit here depressed and lost in life alone. He doesn't think it's a big deal and won't tell his family the truth. I'm devastated he gets to be happy and move on while I'm looking at her wondering what I did wrong. I cook, clean, want children, going for nursing, served my country, always singing and happy, did everything for him. And now I'm constantly comparing myself to her and thinking maybe I'm overreacting. Stories number 14. AIO no one stuffed mom's stocking. I always hear stories about mothers not getting their stocking stuffed. Well, this was my first Christmas as a mother. My baby is 9 months old, so blessed to have her. I gave my husband his stocking and he was like, wow, I totally forgot these existed, and I was like, huh, sad in the inside. Afterwards I start on breakfast for us, I check the freezer to pull out some meat. And I see my ice cream from the night before with the spoon inside and lid on top. And I was like, babe, are you freaking serious? I asked you to put it away for me and this is how it's put. And he gets upset at me and eats his pancake that I made and went to the room and closes the door. So I finish up breakfast that I wasn't yet done with and sit at the table alone to eat and spent Christmas pretty much just so sad. I feel like I could have been nicer about the ice cream thing, but I don't feel like I did anything bad. He said I shouldn't have said anything about it and been glad he put it away. Essentially, I was upset about the stocking, so the ice cream was the cherry on top, but I don't think I deserve to eat alone. TLDR, my husband forgot my stocking. Then got mad at me for getting upset about something and left me to eat alone on Christmas. Stories number 15. Aita for making the girl who flirted with my boyfriend cry. So I, 23F, have been seeing this guy, 21M, for a while, and we just made it official the other day. For context, this guy fits a mold on what some girls want, I guess. He's a musician, he has tattoos, long hair. You get the gist. He's just got that look some girls really like. Anyway, he played a gig last night and I noticed a girl was looking at him the whole time. At first I was not worried cause like, me too girl, but then even after he was seen at the bar with me, this girl went out of her way to talk to him. I have a pretty thick skin with this stuff. I don't usually say anything about it to the women because it's not really my responsibility, you know. Plus, fighting a girl over a dude, not my style. However, last night I kind of lost my cool with it. I really straight up believe this girl was actively disrespectful. She was asking him about his belt buckle, telling him he has very useful hands. I heard my partner say, "I think you're being inappropriate, and I don't feel complimented." She just laughed and continued to comment, but in an attempted jest this time. She made a joke saying something like, "Oh my bad, you have a girlfriend, don't you? Can I at least give you my number in case that falls through?" I don't usually say this, but it was so cringe, and so gross. I mean this in the most ethical way possible, but it's the kind of energy you hear about when you hear stories of gross and slimy men who hit on women just trying to enjoy their night. That was my final straw. I walked up to her and said that her behavior was creepy and objectifying, and then I told her that she can either prepare to be verbally taken down, or walk away, but that those are her only two choices. She then went into the bathroom, cried and told a group of girls what happened who have consistently spoken about it to mine and my partner's circle since. I feel so bad, but at the same time, I stand by what I did. I feel like a horrible person because she stated she felt threatened. And I didn't mean it as a threat, but it totally does sound that way. I've literally never reacted like this before, and don't even feel insecure in my relationship. It just felt like she was tethering on sexual harassment at that point, and I guess I just blew my top. Aita. Stories number 16. Aita for telling my dad I don't want my stepmother around my children. To set things up here, my parents divorced when I was 9. My father remarried when I was around 12 or so. I've never been very fond of my stepmother, but she was not mean to me, and she never made me feel like she did care for me. But when I was younger, my stepmother and my father argued, a lot. I can't remember what they argued about, but it was damn near every day. Fast forward to my late high school, into early adult life and my time in the military. She became, or maybe was the whole time, very selfish and isolated herself a lot by playing random online text-based games on her laptop. Really, the only time she spent time with my father was outside of the house with friends or trips. At home I never noticed them do anything together. About 3 years ago my dad somehow figured out that she had been talking to a guy through one of these online games. She claimed there was nothing going on and my dad took her for her word. Interesting thing is, all three of us work for the US Postal Service. My father is retired, she is still working, and I transferred out of state to another facility several years ago. She is rather high up the food chain and has to travel for training quite often. My job also requires me to travel for training but less frequently. Earlier this year my dad told me that he found out she was cheating on him while she was out of town for training. That it happened to be the same guy she had been talking to years before. Possibly that they had actually met up more than once, but nothing concrete. I was sure that he would leave her after that, but he decided he wanted to give her another chance. I've been very vocal with him that I do not trust her and he would be better off leaving her. This October, into November, I had to travel out of state for training. It just so happens that a cousin of mine was getting married one weekend less than an hour from where I was training. Also my dad had decided to road trip out there for the wedding, then had planned on driving out to see his grandkids, one of which he hasn't met yet. However, he did not tell me my stepmother would be with him. I did not say anything to him or her during the wedding. Personally, I felt it would have been inappropriate to have that conversation during my cousin's wedding. It was her day and I did not want to spoil it by any potential outburst my stepmother may have. I called my father the next day but he didn't answer. So I left him a message telling him we needed to have a conversation about her meeting my children, whom she has never met before. When he finally called back and I answered the phone, he immediately started yelling at me. Asking me why I wouldn't let her see them, attempting to compare his marriage to mine and even attacking my wife. What is she going to do besides shower then with love and affection? I'm not going to cancel this trip out there just because your wife doesn't want her around the kids. Is your marriage so perfect that you think you can judge mine? I was shocked, honestly. My father and I have never had a heated argument about anything. But admittedly I was pissed off. I told him he had no right to put blame on my wife for something that ultimately my decision and especially no right to compare our marriages. I told him he was no longer welcome out and to not show up. I didn't want either of them around my kids. I haven't heard a word from him since. No phone calls, texts, letters, nothing. Aita for denying my father time with his grandkids because of my stepmother. TLDR, I told my father that my stepmother was not welcome around my kids because she had cheated on him for a long period of time and denied it. He then got mad at me so I told him he was also unwelcome.